I've always kind of wondered about those people who just up and quit their jobs to start businesses. Like, it seems so risky, jumping off a cliff and hoping you can build a plane on the way down.
Yeah.
But hey, maybe that's just me. But today we're going to unpack exactly what it takes to make that jump from employee to entrepreneur and hopefully, avoid that whole crash landing scenario. We're diving into The Guy Who Fired His Boss this time. It's by Sam Kariuki. It's This Story of John.
Oh, yeah, I know that book. It's really interesting because it's not like those typical business books, the ones that are all about getting rich quick.
Yeah, or like just being super positive all the time.
Exactly. It actually shows what being an entrepreneur is really like, the struggles, the stuff you don't see on Instagram.
So it's like the behind-the-scenes version of entrepreneurship.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's get into it. Where does this story even start?
Well, it starts with John hitting rock bottom, pretty much. I mean, his wife leaves him, takes the kids, his business is failing, he's about to be evicted.
Wow, talk about a rough patch.
Yeah, it really shows how even if you have a great idea and you work really hard, it doesn't always mean you'll be successful.
Right. You need something more.
Exactly. And that's where John's mentor comes in, Vijay Shah. He's this really successful industrialist, but he has this mysterious past. Grew up an orphan, adopted by shopkeepers, barely any education.
Wow. Okay, I'm intrigued already.
Yeah, he's quite a character.
So what's his secret to success?
Well, he calls it being a successpreneur instead of just an entrepreneur.
A successpreneur. That's kind of catchy, but what does it actually mean?
It's a whole different way of thinking about business.
Okay, so are we all just successpreneurs waiting to happen?
Well, Vijay thinks that everyone is born with entrepreneurial instincts. Because everyone is a problem solver in some way. Like, even when you're trying to figure out how to get a stain out of your shirt, you're using entrepreneurial thinking.
I never thought of it like that. But I guess you're right. We're always solving problems.
Exactly. But successpreneurs are different. They have a system for choosing the right problems to solve. Oh, okay.
He calls it the wise choice criteria.
The wise choice criteria. I like
Yeah.
it.
It's 5 steps.
Okay, let's hear them.
All right, so first you have the passion test. And this isn't just about being excited about an idea. It's about having a deep drive to do something. Like, imagine doing this work even if you weren't getting paid.
Yeah,
Would you still want to do it?
that's a good question. And honestly, I think that's where John went wrong at first. I mean, he was more excited about quitting his job than actually designing websites.
Right. It's easy to mix up escaping something you hate with actually being passionate about something else.
It's like quitting your job because you hate your commute, not because you actually like what you'd be doing instead.
Exactly.
So how do you figure out if you're truly passionate about something?
VJ has this exercise. He calls it the passion gauge. It's all about asking yourself what work you could do, even without pay, and still feel good about it.
Wow, that's a powerful question.
It is.
Okay, so that's the passion test. What's next? The opportunity test. So just having a problem isn't enough. People need to be willing to pay for a solution to that problem.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But how do you know if people will actually pay?
That's where market research comes in. But Vijay also ties this back to Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
Maslow's hierarchy of needs, isn't that like the pyramid of human needs?
Yes.
I remember learning about that in school. It's like we all need food and shelter first, and then we worry about other things like belonging and self-esteem.
Exactly. And successful businesses tap into those different levels of needs.
So like a company selling life insurance. They're appealing to our need for security,
Right,
a luxury car company. They're playing on our desire for status.
Exactly.
Okay, so the opportunity test is about finding a problem that people actually need solved and are willing to pay for.
Right.
So it's not enough to just have a cool idea.
Nope.
You need to make sure people actually want it.
It's like that saying, build it and they will come. Doesn't always work like that.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Okay, so we've got passion and opportunity. What's the next test?
The money test. This one's pretty straightforward. Can you reach enough customers to actually make money?
Okay, so even if you have a great solution to a problem, if you can't reach enough people who will pay for it, it's not really a business.
Exactly.
So it's not just about having a good idea, it's about making sure that idea can actually make money.
Right. And Vijay points out there are different ways to do this. You could target a small group of high-paying clients or a large market with more affordable products.
Okay, so like a high-end consultant versus a mass-market clothing brand.
Exactly.
I think I prefer working with a smaller group of clients.
Yeah.
But I can see how both could work. So what's the next test?
The assets test.
Assets.
Do you have something unique that lets you solve this problem better than anyone else? And it's not just about owning things, it's about having access to things like skills, connections, knowledge, even your reputation.
Oh, okay. So it's like, for me, I might not be the only podcast host out there, but maybe my sense of humor or my way of explaining things is what sets me apart.
Exactly. It's about finding your edge, what makes you stand out.
I like that. Okay, so passion, opportunity, money, assets. What's the last one?
The timing test.
Timing.
Is the market ready for what you're offering right now? Can you get in before it gets too crowded? Or is it already too late?
Timing is everything, they say. I've seen so many businesses launch at the wrong time. Like either way too early before anyone's ready or way too late when everyone else is already doing it.
Yeah, it's like catching a wave. Too early and you miss it. Too late and you wipe out.
Okay, so we've got this whole wise choice criteria thing, but how does it actually work in John's story? Does he actually start using these tests?
He does. But remember, he's in a really bad place when he starts. Facing eviction, dealing with employee theft, trying to get a loan.
Yeah. It's like trying to learn to swim when you're already in the middle of the ocean.
Exactly. But with VJ's help, John starts changing his mindset. Instead of focusing on all the bad stuff, he starts looking for solutions.
So it's about taking control even when things are falling apart.
Right. VJ's approach is all about facing problems head on.
Okay, so what does John do?
Well, instead of freaking out about the eviction notice, he negotiates a payment plan with his landlord. And he starts focusing on collecting money from clients who haven't paid him.
Oh, wow. So he starts getting these small wins.
Exactly. And that helps him build confidence.
But it's not just about those external wins, is it?
Nope. John also starts to realize that success isn't just about money. It's about finding fulfillment in the work itself.
That's so important.
It is.
It's easy to get caught up in the hustle and forget about why you're even doing it.
Right.
So John's story is really about finding that balance between passion, purpose, and profit.
Exactly. But then another character enters the picture.
Oh, who's that?
VJ's other protege, Oscar. He runs a huge manufacturing company, super organized, very systems-driven.
So we've got John, who's more of a free spirit, and Oscar, who's like a well-oiled machine.
Yeah.
What does Oscar bring to the table?
He teaches John that the right business model is more important than a good idea.
Oh, wow.
And he basically tells him that traditional business plans are a myth.
Really?
Yeah, he thinks they're too rigid and often based on assumptions that aren't true.
It's like trying to use an old map to navigate a city that's constantly changing.
Exactly.
Things are different now.
And Oscar is all about what he calls validated learning.
Validated learning.
It's about constantly testing your ideas, getting feedback from the market, and being willing to change course if things aren't working.
So it's less about being right all the time and more about being open to being wrong and learning from it.
Right.
It's like embracing the fact that things are always changing.
Exactly.
Okay, so what happens next?
Well, Oscar introduces John to this thing called the business model canvas.
The business model camera.
It's like a blueprint for success.
I'm intrigued.
Yeah, we'll dive into all 9 building blocks next time.
Awesome. I can't wait. All right, so last time we left off with this whole business model canvas thing, it sounded pretty cool, like a way to really break down your business idea and see what's working and what's not.
Exactly. It's like an X-ray machine for your business.
Okay, I like that. So how does it actually work?
Well, it has 9 building blocks.
9.
Yeah, but don't worry, it's not as overwhelming as it sounds.
Okay, good.
Let's just go through them one by one and see how they apply to John's story.
Just good to me.
All right, so the first building block is the value proposition.
The value proposition.
Yeah, it's basically the heart of your business.
Okay.
What makes you unique?
So, like for John, it's not just about building websites. It's about helping his clients get more customers online. Because he's really passionate about internet marketing.
Exactly. It's about understanding what problem you solve for your customers and being able to explain that really clearly.
So it's not just a catchy slogan. It's the core of what you do.
Exactly.
Okay, value proposition check. What's next?
Customer segments.
Customer segments.
Who are your ideal customers? The people who are most likely to buy from you.
Oh, okay. So it's not about trying to be everything to everyone.
Right, because if you try to please everyone, you end up pleasing no one.
It's like trying to make everyone happy at a potluck. You end up with a dish that nobody really likes.
Exactly. You need to focus on a specific group of people who will really love what you have to offer.
Like John was initially trying to target anyone who needed a website. But that wasn't working.
Right, because he was spreading himself too thin.
Yeah. He needed to niche down.
Exactly. So Oscar helped him focus on professional service providers, like lawyers, doctors, consultants.
People who need a website,
Hmm.
but don't have the time or skills to build one themselves.
Exactly.
Okay, so it's about finding your tribe.
Yeah, the people who really resonate with what you do.
And this ties back to the money test, right? You need a customer segment that's big enough to make money.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've got value proposition and customer segments. What's next?
Channels. How do you actually reach your customers? What pathways are you using to connect with them?
So for John, this could be things like online advertising
Hmm.
or networking ads or referrals from existing clients.
Exactly. But the key is to choose channels that are aligned with your customer segments.
Oh, okay.
So it's like using the right beat to attract the right fish.
I get it. You wouldn't use the same fishing lure for a trout as you would for a marlin.
Exactly.
You need to use the right tools for the job.
Precisely.
Okay, channels check. What's next?
Customer relationships.
Customer relationships.
How do you interact with your customers? Is it more transactional? Or are you building long-term relationships?
This is where John's personality really shines. He's a genuinely nice guy who really cares about his clients.
And that's a huge asset, especially in the professional services world, because building strong relationships can lead to repeat business and referrals.
So it's not just about closing the deal, it's about creating a positive experience.
Exactly.
It's about showing your clients that you're invested in their success.
Right.
Okay, we're making good progress here. What's the next building block?
Revenue streams.
Revenue streams.
How do you actually make money? What are your pricing models?
Oh yeah, this is where things can get a little scary.
It can be, but it's also really important because if you're not making money, you don't have a business. You have a hobby.
Okay, so John needs to figure out how he's going to price his services.
Right. Is he going to charge hourly rates, project fees, maybe offer packages?
And there are other revenue models too, right? Like subscriptions or licensing fees.
Exactly. It's about finding what works best for you and your customers.
And your market.
Right?
Okay, so even though Oscar comes from a manufacturing background, his advice still applies to John's business.
Yeah, because these principles are universal. Whether you're selling products or services, the fundamentals of business are the same.
Okay, makes sense.
Yeah.
What's the next building block?
Key activities.
Key activities.
What are the essential tasks that you need to do to deliver your value proposition?
Oh, okay. So for John, this would include things like website development, content creation, search engine optimization.
Exactly. All the things that go into providing his services.
And it also includes things like marketing and sales and customer support.
Right. All the things that keep the business running smoothly.
So it's like a checklist of everything that needs to happen.
Exactly. And it helps you identify any bottlenecks.
Bottlenecks.
Yeah, areas where things might get stuck.
Oh, okay.
And it can also highlight areas where you might need to outsource tasks.
That's helpful. Okay, what's next?
Key resources.
The key resources.
What assets do you need to carry out those key activities? This could be physical things like equipment or office space, or it could be things like skills and knowledge.
So for John, his key resources would be his computer, his design software, his brain.
Exactly. But remember, it's not just about owning these things. It's about having access to them.
Okay, so you could rent equipment or collaborate with people who have the skills you need.
Right.
Okay, key resources check. What's next?
Key partnerships.
Key partnerships.
Who are the people or companies that can help you achieve your goals?
So like suppliers or distributors.
Yeah, or strategic alliances.
Okay, so for John, this might mean partnering with other web developers or graphic designers, or maybe even marketing agencies.
Exactly. It's about building a team of people who can support you.
Especially if you're a solopreneur or a small business.
Right.
It's about recognizing that you don't have to do everything alone.
Exactly.
Okay, key partnerships check. We're down to the last one. What is it?
Cost structure.
Cost structure.
This is where you look at all the expenses involved in running your business.
Oh yeah, the not so fun part.
It can be, but it's important to be realistic about your costs.
So John needs to figure out how much it costs him to deliver his services.
Right. Everything from rent and utilities to software and marketing.
And he needs to make sure that his revenue streams can cover those costs and still make a profit.
Exactly. It's about making sure your business is financially sustainable.
Wow, we just went through all 9 building blocks. That was a lot.
It was. But hopefully you can see how useful the business model canvas can be.
Definitely. It's like having a roadmap for success. I'm definitely going to be using this for my own work.
I encourage you to. It's a great way to get a clear picture of your business.
But the canvas is just the starting point, right?
Right. The real work happens when you put these ideas into action.
Which is what John does in the next part of the story.
Exactly.
Okay, I can't wait to hear what happens. So we've talked about VJ's wise choice criteria and Oscar's business model canvas. It's like we've been given this secret formula for entrepreneurial success.
And we left off with this idea of planning as an ongoing process, not just a one-time business plan.
Right. Because remember, John wasn't a fan of business plans at all.
He really wasn't.
He thought they were outdated and too rigid.
He did.
But Oscar challenged that, saying that plans are often based on assumptions that just don't hold up in the real world.
Exactly, because things change all the time.
It's like using an old map to navigate a city that's constantly evolving.
Perfect analogy.
New streets pop up, buildings get demolished. You need to be able to adapt.
And that's what Oscar calls validated learning.
Validated learning.
Testing your assumptions, getting feedback, and being willing to change direction.
So it's not about being right all the time. It's about being open to being wrong and learning from it.
Exactly.
You have to be flexible.
And Oscar's pretty blunt about it. He says if your business model isn't working, you need to be willing to kill it.
Wow. That's tough.
It is. But sometimes it's necessary.
It's like admitting defeat.
In a way. But it's also about recognizing when to cut your losses.
I guess clinging to a failing business can be like throwing good money after bad.
Exactly.
Sometimes you need a fresh start.
It's like pruning a tree. You have to get rid of the dead branches to make room for new growth.
Okay, so does John actually have to kill his business?
He doesn't shut it down completely, but he does make some major changes.
Like what?
He refocuses his target market, clarifies his value proposition, even adjusts his pricing.
Wow. It's like he's rebuilding his car while it's still driving down the highway.
It's not easy, but he's determined to make it work.
I like that the book shows the messy side of entrepreneurship.
Me too.
It's not all glamour and overnight success.
It's hard work, tough decisions, constant adaptation.
And that's what makes it relatable.
Most of us aren't going to build billion-dollar companies overnight.
Right. It's about those small wins along the way.
Exactly.
So does John start seeing results from all these changes?
He does. He starts attracting better clients. His income goes up. He even starts paying off some debt.
That's great.
It's a step in the right direction.
But remember, VJ is still battling cancer during all of this.
Yeah.
How does that affect John?
Well, VJ eventually has to step back from the mentorship program. But before he does, he asks Oscar to keep working with John.
That's so kind of him.
It is. It shows how much he cares about John's success.
So how does John's story end?
Well, the book doesn't give us all the details, but it ends with John launching a new business, and it's successful.
So he finally found what works.
He did. He's not just chasing money anymore. He's found a way to align his work with his passion.
I love that.
It's not just a financial success story, it's a story about personal growth.
John started out feeling lost.
And now he's found his purpose.
So if someone's thinking about starting a business, what's the one thing they should take away from this book?
I'd say this. Success is a process, not a destination.
I like that. It's about constantly learning and adapting.
Exactly.
John's story is a great example of that.
He didn't give up. He kept trying until he found what worked.
And that's what entrepreneurship is all about,
It's a journey,
with its ups and downs.
but it can be incredibly rewarding.
So if you're feeling inspired,
Yeah.
check out The Guy Who Fired His Boss,
It's a great read.
full of practical advice and relatable stories.
And remember, there are resources out there to help you along the way.
Mentors,
Yeah.
online communities, tools and templates.
You don't have to do it alone.
So go out there, find your passion, build your dream.
And remember, success is a process, not a destination.
That's it for this deep dive. Until next time, keep learning and keep growing.